Back in the 1930s, America was hit by the Great Depression. We're talking about the most severe economic crisis in the country's history. And it wasn't just about banks and stocks. It completely reshaped the day-to-day life for millions of people. You know, the real story of the Depression isn't in the headlines or the history books. It's in the small, daily struggles of regular families. So how did they do it? How did these survive? What were they eating? How did they find work? And maybe most importantly, where did they find hope? That's what we're going to dive into.
To really get a sense of just how big this crisis was, get this. By 1933, 1 out of every 4 working Americans was unemployed. That's not just some statistic. That's your neighbor, your cousin, your friend. It was a reality that hit pretty much every single family in the country. So you have to wonder, how did everything fall apart so quickly? Well, it all started with one massive event that created a domino effect that nobody saw coming.
And man, did it happen fast. It all kicked off with the stock market crash in 1929. After that, it was just one thing after another. Banks started failing, businesses had to lock their doors for good, and people's life savings? Poof, gone, almost overnight. In just 4 short years, by 1933, the whole economy had just hit rock bottom. So with the economy crumbling, that whole idea of the American dream kind of went out the window. It was replaced by something much more basic, just trying to survive, day in and day out.
For a lot of folks, that fight for survival started right at the dinner table. Forget about fancy meals, diets were stripped down to the absolute basics. We're talking beans, cornbread, boiled potatoes. And for those who had nothing, soup kitchens were a literal lifeline, serving up whatever they could to people standing in long lines, just grateful for one hot meal.
Every single penny counted. Families had to learn how to stretch everything. Kids wore clothes handed down from their older siblings, and shoes were patched up again and again until they literally fell to pieces. The rule was simple. You waste nothing. With all the normal jobs just gone, people's new full-time job was looking for any kind of work. They had to get creative to earn a living and find new ways to get help just to get by. For millions of people, the whole idea of a regular job just vanished. You could be a factory worker, an office clerk, a farmer, it didn't matter. Your way of life was gone, and you had to become incredibly resourceful just to put food on the table. So a whole new informal economy just sort of popped up because it had to. People did anything they could think of to make a few cents. Selling apples on the street, mending clothes for their neighbors, taking back-breaking manual labor jobs for just a day's pay. These were survival jobs, pure and simple. With the country in such a deep crisis, the government had to step in, and they did so on a scale nobody had ever seen before. President Roosevelt's New Deal created all these programs, like the Civilian Conservation Corps. It put millions of young men to work building roads, parks, and bridges, a lot of which we actually still use today. It's a pretty amazing legacy from that time. But if you think things were bad in the cities, out in rural America, the economic crisis was slammed with a massive environmental disaster on top of it. Right across the Great Plains, a terrible drought turned all the rich farmland into dust. And then the winds came. These giant dust storms, known as the Dust Bowl, would literally bury homes and make farming totally impossible. It forced so many families to just pack up and leave, becoming migrants in their own country, just looking for any work they could find. So, with all this hardship, how on earth did people keep going? Well, they found strength in the little things, and maybe most of all, in each other. Hope wasn't some luxury. It was a necessary tool for survival. There was this huge contrast between daily life and these small moments of escape. The days were defined by things like food lines and just total uncertainty. But in the evenings, families would huddle around the radio to listen to stories, communities would get together for dances, and going to the movies was cheap and offered a quick break from all the trouble. This is where people really showed up for each other. Neighbors would share the little food they had. They'd help fix things for each other and watch each other's kids. This incredible sense of community. It wasn't just comforting. It was a real powerful force that helped people get through the absolute toughest times. The Great Depression was, without a doubt, defined by hardship, but it also forged the character of an entire generation. It taught these deep, unforgettable lessons about being resilient, about courage, and about how absolutely crucial community is. Now, obviously, the world is a very different place today than it was in the 1930s, but the challenges of hardship and uncertainty, those are still with us. And that leaves us with a final question. What can their incredible story of resilience and community teach us about facing the challenges of our own time?